Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is my 1989 Kawasaki KLR 250. And in today's video, we're going to try and get as much of it done as we possibly can, starting on the front end, front wheel bearings, fork oil seals, new fork oil. I've managed to source some used bits for the broken levers and all the bits that were broken up the front. Hang around, let me show you those. We'll get the car back on that we rebuilt last week. I just need to set the float height up. We'll get the new chain on, change the front sprocket, change the rear wheel bearings. Let's try and get it all done in this video. All new cables as well. Got all new cables to do. So yeah, if you're new here, guys, don't forget, smash subscribe, hit like, drop us a comment. It's all completely free of charge and it really helps the channel out. I'm Dino. This is Patch's Repair Shop. Let's crack on, shall we? Right, that's the speedo drive off. No, it's not. That's the speedo cable off. I think the bracket could do with a little paint up. Going to try and make my life a little bit easier with the forks. Historically, haven't done that. Always had a little bit of a nightmare with fork oil seals. The front wheel's in, forks are all still bolted onto the triple clamp at the top. If you can, undo this one on the bottom, you will save yourself a world of pain. That one hasn't moved. I will try the battery ratchet. So I say it hasn't moved. It has moved. There's not a problem per se, but the internals of the forks are spinning with this 8mm Allen key bolt that's in the bottom of the forks. And if you can get it out now, it is a lot easier. And we can't. Let's try the other side. Nope, gonna have to do it the hard way. The other ones that should be easier now are these ones. So, there we go. If you follow along, guys, you've seen me take this front wheel off before. So 19mm spanner on one side, 22mm socket on the other, a split pin, caliper's already off, so we don't have to worry about that. And we should be, he says, if we can get this spindle out. Yeah, one front wheel. Right, so we're going to clean all that up, and what are we going to do? Clean it all up. We've already cleaned the front disc. We're going to put new bearings in it. That's what we're going to do. Front brake hose clamp as well. Really bad lighting behind me. Got the clamps, the bottom of the triple clamp. We've got a couple of 6mm Allen key heads. They're clamping the fork stanchion in. These are conventional forks. They're not upside down and inside out. If you can see that, we've got one up the top here as well. So let's crack that one off. And you probably don't need to take these all the way out, but I just wanted to see if I had some stainless stuff kicking around. So, right, let's put the light behind you so maybe you can see what I'm doing now. So that is one. That's one fork completely out. So let's drain it of oil and get it on the bench, shall we? Actually, before we drain it of oil, let's get this clamp off of here. And then hopefully we can get this, he says, get this boot off. Good. And the boot has what appears to be a lot of tape around it to hold it. Feel like that's not standard. If you guys know, let me know in the comments. So there's hardly any oil left in that, and what is in it doesn't look too happy. Right, guys, we are apart. You've seen me do fork oil seals quite a few times, so I just cracked on basically. So it wasn't the end of the world. Let me show you what we had to do. So the bolt that we was trying to undo at the bottom of the fork in there, when the bike was all together, that 8mm Allen key screws into here, like that. So when you're trying to undo it, this is spinning. Now, what you can purchase is a special tool to go down inside the top of the fork stanchion that will hold this inside and allow you to undo the bolt. There's pretty much a different one for every bike you do. So when we was doing the Triumph fork oil seals, or maybe the WR125, I can't remember, I made this bit of steel bar, nice and long, goes down inside the forks, and I've ground 4 sides on it, so it's got like a square on it. And what I do is I pop that down inside this fork stanchion. That grips the end, And then on this occasion, my big 1/2-inch gun managed to undo the bolt first time. So no dramas from that point of view this time. So stripped it all down. Here's the old oil seal. Here's the old dust cover. They can go in the bin. Few components that I've already given a good clean up. That goes down inside the fork tube, fork body, and then bits like this, top of the fork stanchion, the spring. I've given that a good clean up. I've still got to clean this up. I've given this part of the fork a good clean up, especially inside. And the actual fork stanchion itself, I've taken the blue tape off. I've given it a good clean up everywhere. That's in nice condition. And I've got some new seals and some new dust covers. So we're going to pop it all back together. Shall I film it or shan't I film it? You've seen me don't do it before. I'll film it. I'll film this one for you. Hello, Mr. Spider. I'll film this one for you, and I'll stick a link on the screen to the Triumph or the Yamaha where we also done the fork oil seals, and you can see them on there as well, guys. Okay, right. Happy days. Let's crack on. Right, let's get one fork back together. Little bit of grease on the inside of the seal, and we will very, very gently pop the seal on, not all the way down. Next thing we've got is this little piece goes down inside here. And it'd be a lot easier if it went in as one, like that. Maybe you guys can see, but probably not. And then we're going to make sure we haven't forgotten anything. Pop this down into here. Before we go any further, we'll get the famous bolting, my favourite. So I am making a hash of this, but the tube popped out, and what you guys can see is the 12-sided top. So that's where I put my little homemade tool. But basically you can see if you had a nut or a bolt that fitted in there perfectly, yeah, because it's like a socket, it's like a 12-sided socket. You could effectively weld that onto the end of the tube and drop it down. So I wonder if there's a set of these available to make my life easier in the future. Right, since I dropped it out, I thought I might as well clean it up. Right, so that one on there, that one on there. So now hopefully we can get it started. So
Right, so I've got my special tool in the end so I can get it started. Let's move these new fork seals out the way before we knock them all on the dirty floor. Right, that's that in, and right, so nothing harder to film than a fork oil seal job, in my opinion. So now we're done up at the bottom, everything's in where it should be. We can push the fork oil seal all the way down to where it's meant to be. Now to do this again, there's a special set of tools. Now I thought I bought a set. You think I can find them? I cannot. So I usually use the old seal, you know, to knock it in so that we don't damage anything. I would say that that's probably got a bit further to go. Right, so that, if you guys can see it, which I don't think you can, is all the way home. So that's the new oil sealing. And then we've got a dust cover that comes over the top. Slightly different dust cover to the one we took out. So the first thing we've got to do is pop this little clip in the top. And then I don't think... Right, the new dust cover doesn't quite go all the way down. We've got the boot to go over here as well, the blue one, and it's nice and tight. The seal is the important bit. This is keeping the dirt out, which it will do, and it's got another cover over the top, and we've got the clip in there. So that's job done on that one, apart from popping some oil into it. We've got to pop this spring back in there, and then we've got this tubey, and then we've got this cap on the top which goes in, but we won't tighten that up yet because we've got to put some fork oil in. So apart from putting the fork oil in, which I'll bring you back in for, I'm going to put the blue rubber boot back on. I'm going to take the other fork off and get the other fork done, and then I'll bring you all back in, guys, and we'll do some wheel bearings, shall we?
Right, so there's the forks, guys, all scrubbed up and cleaned up with new fork oil seals. Everything's cleaned out and washed out inside. So let's get them back on the bike, shall we? And fill them up with oil. Right, forks are back in, top cap back out, sleeve out, spring out. I want the fork oil level to be 190 mil from the top of this tube, which is approximately where the top of the bottom triple clamp is. Okay, so the oil level needs to be approximately level with the top of the bottom triple clamp. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so springs already out, sleeves out, top cap's obviously out. The fork has got to be fully compressed when you do it, so pull the fork body all the way up the stanchion. Now I'm going to have to try and do this with one hand, so a funnel. I've got my Castrol 15W fork oil ready. It should be about 300 mil ish. We'll just work the fork body backwards and forwards a little bit. And before we put too much in, let's have a little check. So no, we still need a bit more. And that is about there, and that has taken about 310 mil of the castor oil, which is what the manual says it should take. So it says 325, so it's not far off. Now we've got that, we can pop our spring back in. There's a top cap that goes in. And let's just check that that's seated properly. It is. Sleeve. And then our nice clean top cap. So now we know the forks are in position where we want them. We can torque up our clamps. I cleaned all the bolt threads. Pop some grease on those. I know you can't see me, I'm just doing the same on the other side. And then the same for the top clamp bolt. Right, next up is the wheel bearing. And then we can get the front wheel and brakes back on. We've got a circlip in here. All right, I thought I might be able to get a punch down inside and knock the first one out, but I can't. So I'm gonna pop the grease seal off the first bearing and try and use this internal bearing puller. I've had some success with it, so we might be all right. Have I just instantly jinxed it? I think I have. I think this bearing is seized as well. Right, guys, let me show you this setup, and I don't know how well you can see it. So the small silver bits at the bottom pop into the bearing race, turn around and grip the bearing. And then we've got these two bolts on the outside connecting to this T-piece at the top, which is going to push down on that center steel bar that I've put in there to protect the wheel. And hopefully it will lift the bearing up. Hasn't got to pop it all the way out. As long as it moves it, we'll be all right. Yeah, so that's moved it out, guys. That's got it. So that's got it. So it's only going to lift it as far as that block that I've put in, because that's now in the way. Let me see if I can move you in a bit closer. So you can see how horrible the bearing is, and you can see now that it's moved because it was sat flush with this edge down here. So now I should be able to get a punch in from the other side and knock it straight out, hopefully. So that's one bearing out. That is not good at all. It is moving now. It wasn't moving when it was in the wheel, probably because I've smashed the hell out of some of the bearing races. that side just with a punch, knocked it straight out. So good. And it's obviously stuck on the end of my punch. So 2 new bearings, one hopefully bigger than the other. Yes, this all looks very promising. And an O-ring, which I didn't have on mine. I wonder if it was meant to have one. Right, so I've just got my little bearing press. So you've got like a selection of anvils, and then you've got this handle that goes on the end. Little bolt to hold it in place. Check it fits. Pop a little bit of grease around the outside. Help it along its way. That's one bearing in. Now this side has a little cap, so we'll just check that the cap still fits okay before we try and put the wheel on, and that's perfect. We've got to pop our spacer in. Spacer gets some grease as well. Smaller bearing on this side. There we go. Job done. And we know that this bearing sits flush with that lip there, which it does, and everything's moving. And this side has the speedo drive, so we can check that that's still working or fits, and it does. I've just worked out where the oil seal goes. It's in the back of the speedo drive. So, you know, while we've got it, I suppose we should do it. Trusty old seal puller. Always works a treat. So one old seal. I think we will give that a wash out. What do you reckon? Right, that's slightly better, guys. I stripped it out, dug all the grease out, give it a clean out. That's the other side of the gear. That pops back in there like that. So all we need to do first is put a load of grease, new grease, back in here without dropping the grease tub everywhere. So loads of grease back in here, and now we can pop, hopefully, nice and easily, without any tools. Yeah, pop that new seal back in there. Oh, that's a little bit tight, but yep, that's got it. Right, lovely job. New seal, cleaned out, new grease. That's that job done as well. Right, let's slide the front wheel back in. washer and nut. On the, not this side of the wheel, but on the speedo drive of the wheel, there's a very obvious little cutout in the speedo drive that you have to locate either side of a casting mark on the fork so that the speedo drive doesn't spin round and round and round. But if you're doing it, it's very, very obvious to see. So up next, we've got the brake caliper. That was fully rebuilt last week. New brake pads as well. So that, or this, I should say, should be ready to go straight on. So put the brake lines back on. We've got standard. We've got stainless unions. We've got new copper washers. And let's get this fitted up. Good. Job done. That's all looking a lot better. And everything's moving nice and freely. Right, let's move to the other side, get the new speedo cable on.
Quite a significant, if you look here guys, you'll see quite a significant difference in height. You know what I'm going to try and do. I don't even need to say it. Let's elongate the slot and cut the top of this one off.
Right, that's worked, guys. So if I move the wheel, and if you can see that, I don't know if you can, square drive at the end is moving now. So, good. Good. That's all looking a lot nicer now. Not all chewed up like it was before. Good, right. Let's wheel it outside and fit some new levers, shall we? Massive shout out to one of my subscribers, Aidan, who contacted me and said, I've got a KLR 250 brake in. I think I've got what you need. And he did. So, one clutch perch that isn't broken, a brake master cylinder with a sight glass that we can see through, a speedo with the fitting still in the back, and a speedo needle. Mileage is a bit off, but it's old school. I think we can reverse that if we're that bothered. I also picked up, while I was there, a spare coolant reservoir tank, just in case, because it does look like it's in nicer condition than mine. Proper battery clamp rubber, although I have ordered some new ones as well, so we'll see what one works. And another exhaust manifold. Now, I know if you've been watching, we've already dealt with the exhaust manifold, but this one isn't all missing around the top, and my one is, and I've done a sort of repair to make sure that the clamp holds it. This one is better, so what I'm going to do is give this a sand off, weld some bolts back on like we did on my original one. We've already restored the cover. Give this a coat of high temperature paint and we can throw that on as well, and we'll have a nice sealing surface. So massive thanks to Aidan, and I hope your leg gets better soon, mate, and you can go out riding again. Right, so first thing I want to fit is, well, two things really. I want to run the new accelerator cables, throttle cables, and fit the front brake master cylinder. So let's do that, shall we? Right, start by getting the cables out. Right, so I'm going to take these to the vise and undo these, okay? Right, I've cleaned up the end of the throttle tube, so where the cables go is nice and clear. We've fitted two new cables, one of which you can't see. I thought this might be a fiddly job, and it was a really fiddly job. No wonder they never changed that other cable. Even I was putting it off. We may have to come back here once we've got the carburettor on and have another little go. I think it's right. Until we've got tension on springs on the carburettor end, it's a little bit hard to tell. But we can reroute them. Make sure they're routed correctly. Keep the MOT man happy. Right. Splendid. So while we're here, should we pop the brake master cylinder on? So this master cylinder does need a new lever, but we'll do that when we've got it bolted on. Right, this switch has just snapped. Luckily, we've got a couple of spares now. So, got a spare switch here, so we can get that popped on where it needs to be. That's better. Right. So a couple of 10 mils on the lever. Right. Luckily I had some other levers kicking around. And a better stainless bolt as well. So that was worth having a hunt around for. So master cylinder, change the brake light switch, change the lever. The screws are not correct. New stainless union for the brake pipe hose and new copper washers. Let's hope that this one fits. Right, let's pop some brake fluid in and see if we can get it to bleed up a little bit. Okay, so a little bit of a shame, guys. Needs a rebuild kit. Would have been nice to have felt a front brake today. Never mind. Let's crack on with the other side. Right, see if we can at least get the clutch buttoned up. So it's already undone at the lever end. So we can pull that out of there. Pull that out of there. And then this one should... Let's pull the cable right through. So trying to remember exactly where the cable goes. And pull it round here would make our lives a lot easier. You see that, guys? So it's got like a little nipple on the end that pops into there. Actually, that clutch cable isn't the end of the world. No. Right, new clutch cable. So that goes in there. That one folds back round there. And then we've got that one through there. We'll leave our adjustment until the lever's on at the other end. We'll wind that off so it can do whatever it wants. And then just routing the new cable through. So new to us clutch perch will need to swap the levers over, so we can do that in a minute. So I'm starting to rush and it's all going horribly wrong, which means it's time to call it a day. Go and do some editing instead, I suppose. Right, so clutch levers fitted and it's adjusted up reasonably well. And the clutch switch I'm just plugging back in now. So that's all done. So I've got a clutch lever, done the adjuster up. That boot's not great, but it's better than nothing. So I've got a little bit of free play, which is what you want.
So I'm just going to, let's go round to the other side. So we got it to where we want it. So I just need to nip these adjusting nuts up. There we go. Make sure the boot's on and let's take it for a road test. Lovely. And then just up here, we've got our nice new cables for the carb to go on. Good. One last little job, because it's been really bugging me, is this battery rubber. So, again, big thanks to subscriber Aidan, who donated a proper battery rubber, which should go on there. There we go. That is a lot better. Couldn't handle the cable tie. It was keeping me up at night. Right, guys, we got a lot done. Not as lot as we wanted to get done, but we got a lot done. Front wheel bearings are done. Forks are cleaned out. Fork seals are replaced. Fork oils replaced. Throttle cables are replaced. Clutch cables replaced. Master cylinder, clutch perch are on. Need a, what do we need? Front brake, master cylinder rebuild kit. So that's not the end of the world. So next week we can plonk the carb back on with the new cables. We can do the rear wheel bearings. We can get the chain on, get the new front sprocket on, hopefully rebuild that front brake master cylinder as well. And see if we can again switch this exhaust over. So I'm Dino. That's Patch's Repair Shop. This is my old Kawasaki KLR 250. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. Smash subscribe, hit like, drop us a comment. It's completely free of charge, really helps the channel out. I'm going to pop a video here and here for you guys to carry on watching the channel, and I'll see you guys next Sunday.